Hello, the Chelsea fans. How are you doing? Welcome to Off Chelsea TV and this Ugo Amadi. So let's dive straight into it. Chelsea ran out 2-0 winners, Stamford Bridge London Derby against um, Fulham. So overall, I'll say happy with the win, like you always should be. It's one of those ones where you look at it and say you take performance and make like bandit and run away, as opposed to really being super excited about the performance. Performance wasn't that great in my opinion. If I'm if I'm being 100% honest, it wasn't a great performance. Um, I think when the game started, I think one or two, the first say 5-10 minutes, Chelsea looked good, just looked decent being on the ball, popping the ball about. But the moment Liam Delap, who I just hope is wouldn't be out for a long time, pulled his hamstrings and had to be taken off the pitch. The moment he went off, everybody's head just went off the shoulders, heads dropped. Fulham just began to run the show at moments in the game. And the one change that Enzo Maresca made, I know some people believe that Enzo Maresca is infallible. He can't make any mistakes. He's perfect. You can argue with anything that he does. But for me, I just have to be 100% honest. He he made a very bad substitution, and very bad because of two things. Firstly, he played the player out of position, which is a pet peeve of mine. When you have players playing out of position, it's really criminal. And then sometimes it's a bit more, understandable when maybe that's the only option you kind of have. So that's the only way you can go. But this wasn't the situation. This wasn't the circumstance. On the field, you could have made the tactical switch. You got Tyreek George coming on for Liam Delap who was injured. It was simple. Jao Pedro move on to the 9 position. Um, Pedro Neto move on to the left. Tyreek George move on to the Pedro Neto move on to the right. Tyreek George move on to the left, and then you've got Estavayo William that showed that he can play in that 10 role, playing in the 10 role. Simple. But for whatever reason, he decided to play Tyreek George as a striker. And I'm seeing a lot of people complain about Tyreek George. I ask myself, do you really, really, really say you don't know Tyreek George is being played out of position? Do you really not see that he's being? How are you expecting him to play with his back to goal? I saw somewhere someone saying Tyreek George is not explosive, right? He's explosive. He's got pace. He's got pace. But he is not a striker. He doesn't know how to handle himself playing with his back to goal. He's never ever played that. Maybe he kind of played false 9 under Maresca, which is not even his best position. He played him out of position. And this is the kind of thing Enzo Maresca did with Nkunku. And everybody rained on Nkunku's parade. It's not good enough. You don't want to sign him from RB Leipzig. And that's the same reason. And some people took that as an excuse for Chelsea not signing Xavi Simons, saying, oh, we don't want to sign another RB Leipzig player. And for me, it doesn't make any sense. Fair play, Jao Pedro got the goal. That's good on him. The corner came in. He got that goal good. And his overall link-up play was good. But I don't get the benefit of playing players out of position. Tyreek George struggled all game long. All game long. So I don't get the joy you get from playing players out of position. And this is for me is this another example of modern managers overthinking things. Overthinking things way too much. It's either you want to play him. If you don't want to play him, fine. Keep him on the bench. Bring someone else that can come in and fill that role. And this is where we fall to the point of you've got only Palmer as your 10. You've got only Palmer as your 10. You don't have someone to come off the bench and take his spot. But Estavayo William is someone that said he can kind of play in that 10 role. He wants to play there. I see why he can play there. So why didn't Jao Pedro play in the 9 role? I know a lot of people say, oh, it's 2-0 win. You should be happy. Of course I'm happy, right? I'm happy. I will take a shoddy, rubbish, ugly performance with 3 points anytime, any day over a scintillating performance where you end up losing 1-0, 2-0. Any day of the week and twice on Sunday, I would take a rubbish performance versus a good performance and a poor win and a loss, right? I would. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't, look at things and analytically and point out things that the manager's gotten wrong, things that could have been done better. So for me, Tyreek George, rather than seeing him play in that 9 position again, just sell it. Let's know you don't want him anymore. I know you've got Garnacho in the building. Very soon he'll be announced. So what you're looking for is he will come and play that left-hand side alongside Gittins. Fair play. But don't play players out of position. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then going on to the goal, right? The goal was, first of all, before we get to the goal, going on to the disallowed goal, Joshua King, I think he's the son of Joshua King that used to be at Bournemouth, and then he moved to Fulham at some point. I think he's his son, if I'm not mistaken. He scored a good goal, fine finish. The goalkeeper. Oh my God. Robert Sanchez, man. Robert Sanchez. I say this about Robert Sanchez. I say Robert Sanchez is that guy that maybe in the Champions League he can have that, an amazing run of games, an amazing run of 7 games you need to win, so maybe even more. Now you have an amazing run of games and you just win the Golden Globe in the Champions League. But over a 38 game season, I'm sorry, Robert Sanchez can't be your goalkeeper if you want to win the league title, if you want to compete for the league. He just can't. He just can't. Look at the goal. Fair play. King gave him the eyes and he flew to a completely different postcode, and then and then the ball went to the near post. He keeps getting beaten at his near post. Keeps getting beaten at his near post. I don't quite understand how that keeps happening, but that's what we are faced with at this minute, with Robert Sanchez. So the goal itself was nice goal. I think it was a beautiful moment, given the fact that given the fact that is a young kid. His father used to play for the club, a young player, probably from the academy, coming off to score a goal. So beautiful moment, right? Beautiful moment. But for me, it was a foul. It was a foul in the build up to the goal. I'll share an image now. And a lot of you're having some Chelsea fans coming to say, "Oh, the game is spoiled." Oh, I'm a Chelsea fan, but this no, it is. It is. Just one moment, please. It is a foul. It was a foul in the build up to the goal on Chalobah. Okay, 1 minute. It was a foul on Chalobah. It was a foul on Chalobah. So I don't know what people are trying to, be overly whatever. I don't know, but I'll just share this image now. So this is it. So you can actually see it. You can see the stamp on, on Chalobah's foot. Nice pirouette by Muniz, but it was a foul. It was a foul on Chalobah. It was a foul on Chalobah. So all day, that's a foul. So that should have been called off, and it was rightly called off. So fair play to VAR and the officials on that one. But overall, the team looked tired. Enzo Fernandez looked tired. I know he scored his penalty, but he looked tired. He looked like he didn't even want to be on the pitch. Caicedo, and he kind of grew into the game as the game gradually came to an end, but he also looked tired. He struggled. So that's another question I have for Enzo Maresca. How come you're not using your squad? You've got Esugo, you've got Andre Santos. If Dario Esugo is not good enough to play against Fulham at Stamford Bridge, then why was he bought? Why was he bought? So is it only maybe against a League Two side, maybe against Lincoln City? in the Carabao Cup that he will be good enough to play? If he's not good enough, then why was he bought? Andre Santos as well. Enzo Fernandez struggling, Caicedo struggling, both tired, trained only once. Why not either you bring them on to start, you start them, or they come on earlier? Because the midfield seemed tired and drab, in my opinion. And there's no fault to Caicedo. He was super tired. Especially from the Club World Cup, and then coming into the season, he hasn't really rested. So this is where the manager has the responsibility to use the squad, to use the full squad he has, as opposed to overstretching players. And that's why Cole Palmer is missing right now. That's why Cole Palmer is missing. That's why I don't know if he'll be back for the next game after the international break. Maybe, fingers crossed. But you can say for certain. And this came back to what was happening last year, where Cole Palmer will be injured, playing with half a leg, and you would have João Felix on the bench, Christopher Nkunku on the bench, and you would use none of them. So going into this season now, you're having Esugo on the bench, you're having Andre Santos on the bench, you're refusing to use them, despite the fact that you go to press conferences. That's the funny thing about Enzo Maresca. Enzo Maresca will go to press conference and would complain about players being tired, players being fatigued, but will refuse to use the squad. So what message are you sending to the team, to the rest of the team? And for me, the biggest crime was the Tyreek George as a 9. That was a big, big crime. I don't see any right-thinking fan, even a rival fan, who is not just all about banter, that would look at Tyreek George playing as a 9 and say, wow, that's a good choice. Yes, exactly. Yes, he's a tiny kid. He's not meant to play 9. When you've been playing at that 9 position on the 9s, on the 12s, on the 15s, on the 16s, on the 18s, 21s, you know how you kind of use your body. You know how to make the runs. You know how to avoid the physical contact. But when you've played as a winger all your life, what you're used to is 1v1. 1v1 your winger. 1v1 your winger. That's what you're used to. Or tracking back to support your fullback. That's what you're used to. But to just bring Tyreek George on, toss him there to play in the 9 role, and then just allow him to look so lost. And then you took him off. Yeah. I'm guessing you really want to sell him. You really want him to be sold. These are the things that managers do when the one player's gone. They play them, and fans will say, wow, he's playing. Yeah, he's playing him. And then you see the player struggle. But rather than remember that you're playing a young kid out of position and in a position that he's not physically capable of playing. Because one thing we forget as fans is that football is not a game that stops here, or just a game based on skill. Football, like every sport, is a physical game, contact, athletic game, right? So when you're placing a Tyreek George against 2 giant centre-backs, what are you expecting to happen? So for me, I think Enzo Maresca really got that all wrong. And the fact that he didn't switch it up at any point during the game just made me feel like he has something off his sleeves for Tyreek George, the same way he had for Nkunku. And that is not going to help the team. I know some people right now will be like, yeah, good, back your manager, whatever. But you're hurting the team. He's done it to Nkunku. Nkunku's gone to Milan. He's done it to Tyreek George. Tyreek George probably will be going to Leipzig or somewhere else. And then who is the next player? He will play out of position. I don't quite get it. So, good goal by João Pedro. Corners come in, he scored goal. So, he just keeps scoring for Chelsea. So, that's a good one. He scored the Crystal Palace game. He scored again today. So, good one. That's why I think he should be in that 9 role. He started this game today playing the 10 behind Liam Delap. To some point, I can see why he played there, because you've got Cole Palmer out injured. Maybe he'll back after the international break, who knows? And then you have Estevao, who I think is more of a winger. That this is one he can play 10. But I see why you play João Pedro there, and then Liam Delap be the 9 guy, the number 9 in front of him. Fair play, right? Fair play. I see why he played him there. But he should be that 9. He should be that 9. The next game, I think, Estevao William, come on, play him in that 10 role and let Delap come off the bench or João Pedro come off the bench, anyhow you want to go about it. But I would prefer João Pedro to start. But none of this silly business again, none of it, in terms of playing Tyreek George out of it. And then you look at the midfield. He looked tired. Enzo Fernandez looked tired. And this is the second game. The Crystal Palace game, he looked so out of it. He looked so out of it, the Crystal Palace game. Pedro Neto as well hasn't really inspired me since this season started. He hasn't really inspired me. He scored against West Ham. Fair play. I will give him his dues. I'll give him his flowers for that one. So got the goal that sort of set Chelsea on the way to win that game 5-1. So fair play. Top marks to him for doing that. But overall, performance this season hasn't really been great. But then the lap, I think today was unfortunate for him because it felt like today was one of those days where he would really come good. He was making those runs. He was being physical with the Fulham backline. And you just felt like sooner rather than later, he would get a goal. But, as fate would have it, unfortunately, he picked up that hamstring. So that was unfortunate, in my opinion. So sad for him. I hope it's not too serious and he comes back strong, comes back strong for the next game after the international break. So he could have done well this game, but overall, hopefully he comes back stronger. And then let's talk about the subs now. So talk about Estevao William. Estevao William looked good. He looked good. 1v1 opportunities. Each time he had 1v1, the centre back, he was always his fullback. He was always looking to take him on. Calvin Bassey, my Nigerian brother, he was always looking to put him on toes. So fair play. That one top marks. And that is why, for me, I keep insisting, let the fullbacks overlap and so your wingers can have that 1v1 opportunities versus fullbacks. And Estevao, that is his bag. That is his thing, right? Each time he comes up 1v1 with fullback, he always takes them to the cleaners. Always. He always does that, right? Each time he comes up against his defender, he always makes them look silly. So you should want to create more of those 1v1 moments. And how do you create it? Let the fullbacks overlap more and stretch the play. That's my opinion. I wonder what you think about it. So overall, I think he had a fairly decent game. Unfortunate not to score. Took the ball, got past Calvin Bassey, got past the second defender, and then went to use a reverse finish as opposed to going to far post. Fair play, was clever of him, but the goalkeeper Leno made the save. So fair play in that regard. Was good. And then for the subs that came on, Jamie Bino Gittins, he hasn't really sparkled. And he is another player that would benefit from overlapping fullbacks. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. He is one of those that will benefit from that. He would like those 1v1 moments. And right now, I think he shouldn't be starting, unfortunately. I think probably Garnacho coming, maybe Garnacho would start. I'm not saying he should start because I'm still not convinced on Garnacho. So let's see how that shapes up. So I'm thinking Gittins coming off the bench, hopefully in games where Chelsea really leading 2-0 and the opposition are forced, to attack, forced to commitment forward, and then you can hit on the break and give him that ball quickly into his feet. And forgive me, I know I have this name for some Chelsea fans. Each time you mention it, everyone who wants to say why you mentioned his name, but I have to, because we have to compare what we've let go and what we've allowed to come in. When you look at Jamie Bino Gittins and Noni Madueke, who do you think has the better 1v1 ability, better 1v1 talent? Can go 1v1, get past this man, be inventive with the dribbles? Let's be honest. You looked at Gittins all through. How is he coping? Being doubled up against. People held it against Noni Madueke, right? I say when you double up against a winger, especially a winger that has to invert, that has to show some skill to cut onto his stronger foot, it's usually very difficult, right? Especially when you don't have support going on the outside. So that's the question I asked, right? Right now, you have Jamie Bino Gittins. Nothing against him. He is an exciting young talent. His pace is absolutely electrifying, and I'm sure he's going to roast a fullback very, very soon. But you see the difficulties when you don't have that fullback going on the outside. It really does make it difficult for you, right? So I'm thinking Garnacho, though he's not my first, second, or third choice, but I think he's a bit braver on the ball than Gittins. So I think he'll go after his man more than Gittins. So let's see how it shapes up with him coming in. Talk about Chelsea looking to go for Femi Lopez. I just think that's a bit of a shot in the dark. It's not. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on Femi Lopez throwing his toys out of the pram, refusing to train, insisting on leaving. I just don't see that happening. La Masia graduates. They don't tend to do that against Barcelona. So, and then it's left for Chelsea to also meet his valuation because he has a crazy high buyout clause, which is 500 million euros, as is normal for players in Spain. You know, it's a 500 million buyout clause. Chelsea are not going to meet that. No club is going to meet that, obviously. But then if Barca says they want 70 million euros, 80 million euros, would Chelsea be willing to meet that valuation? For me, it would be absolute madness, in my opinion. And now I know people are going on about, and let's talk about Javi Simons before we go back to the game. Talking about the game. Talk about Javi Simons, we'll boo him. Yeah, go ahead, boo him. He's a sports player. You boo any sports player you like. But if you're booing him because he chose Spurs over Chelsea, then you're backing up the wrong tree. You're backing up the wrong tree. It should be the directors that you should be complaining. You should be talking about them. Those are the ones that you should be complaining about. Because once again, they crapped the bed. Once again, they fumbled the bag. Once again, they failed to score a layup. Once again. But once again, you had it. He has been waiting for you for months, turning down Arsenal, turning down clubs, waiting to sign for you. And what did you do? We got the sort of briefing from Fabrizio Romano. I'm sure someone from Chelsea had told him that to say, once Chelsea sell Nkunku, boom, the next thing it will trigger Javi Simons. Good. And then what happened? The moment Chelsea sold Nkunku to AC Milan, what happened? Garnacho. Isn't that crazy to you? And I've been saying this. Chelsea need a 10. Not because Cole Palmer is a bad player. He's Chelsea's most important player. But right now you're going to be playing Champions League football. And you want to at least solidify your spot in that Champions League spot for the top four. You want to finish in that top four comfortably. And to do that, you need to get at least two players of comparable abilities in the same position for each position. But mocked about, wasted time. And I kept saying it on this channel and also on the Ugumadi Football channel that once the window starts closing, starts drawing to a close, players will begin to consider the future. Javi Simons never said he's a Chelsea player. He's a Chelsea fan. He wanted to play for Chelsea, sure. But one other thing was true, which was that he wanted to, his career was also important to him. Because for one, okay, I want to play Champions League football. I want to leave RB Leipzig. So that's certain. I will be leaving RB Leipzig. But what do? You go on to bid for Garnacho. And now people are saying he's not that good. He's made. There are people who are more banter merchants than fans. So they've never really supported the club. And then they just, okay, I'll pick Arsenal. I'll pick Chelsea. And I'll just do banter all around the thing. So because you can't see a top player not signing for your club and be happy about them, say, oh yeah, good, yeah. It's not. You went on for Garnacho, and Garnacho wasn't going anywhere. He had thrown his toys out of the pram at Manchester United. He had burnt all the bridges. So you could have dragged it on. And we had two players already in that left wing. You had Tyree George there, you had Neto there. You had Neto could play there. You had also Gittins there. So two, you could have allowed it to go on. Then Garnacho will get Javi Simons done. And what even makes it more annoying, right, and frustrating? Palmer was out. Palmer was out injured. So you could see he was not available to play. And Even if you wanted to panic buy, you should have been looking to panic buy a number 10. So you had the deal stacked up and you refused to complete the deal. You went for Garnacho instead. And I think Chelsea will continue to face this all through. If Chelsea has this continues to have the sporting directors as the sporting directors going forward, because they're not used to dealing with top profile players and top profile clubs. They're used to being the big guys, the biggest guy in the room when at Brighton and Monaco, due to the caliber of clubs they deal with. Mr. Onyo Simon bit, now miss out on Javi Simons, and who else are we going to miss out on? Because those big players know their worth. You are a Chelsea fan, you want every player to play for you, but top players know their worth. So salary-wise, they know where they have to be. Future-wise, players want to sort out their career. This is a World Cup year. So players won't be hanging around, waiting around, and hoping and praying that after 4 or 5 months, that you come back to tell them. And the excuses they're putting out there is ridiculous. And what's even more ridiculous is that some Chelsea fans are buying into this excuse. Some Chelsea fans are buying into this excuse. That's just crazy. We didn't want to sign him because blah, 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 blah. Keep coming up with weird excuses. Oh, we wanted to deal with Garnacho deal, and before we come to deal with him. That is crazy. How would anyone even come up with that as an excuse? How would anyone even believe that? Because you have sporting directors, but you have a staff. You have members of staff that they work with. You have a phone. You have one of these. You have a smartphone, right? You can call the person that you have placed on hold for the past how many months. Oh, we're having final discussion with Garnacho. We'll be getting back to that. You could also have got someone from your team to be with him. Certain things out with Manchester United, with RB Leipzig. He was in London. You could have had someone drive down to where he is. And believe me, Chelsea knew the hotel he was. They knew where he was. They knew where his agent was. They obviously know the number of his agent. So they could have called, right? Oh, we're making the bid next for you. Getting this ready. You could have easily called the RB Leipzig reps and stuff. It could have easily been done. So the excuse of, wanting to deal with Garnacho first, it's not a one-man show at Chelsea. It's not a one-man show. There's a team. So the excuses they're bringing out there is just silly. And then we've gone to Facundo Buonanotte. Now, he's a good player. I won't say he's not a good player. He's a good player, potential, has good upside. But is he ready, come in now, ready to play right now, deliver for you right now? No. Is he even a 10? No. So what are you doing? You're getting him on a loan from Brighton? What is going on? What is going on? Well, I'm not going to go on a tangent here talking about sporting directors. I just think that going forward, if Chelsea really wants to compete for top honors, if Chelsea really wants to get top players, then Pauli and Lowry can't be the ones leading the recruitment drive. They just can't. They just can't be that. So, and then back to the game, Andrew Santos, I think he was okay when he came on, although he gave away a free kick on the edge of the box, but I think he was okay overall when he came on. And then let's go to player ratings. I'll start at the back. I'll go with Rob Sanchez. I'll give Rob Sanchez, let's say I'll give him a 5.5. He was okay. He wasn't that great, but he was okay. And then I'll look at the left back. Easy 7.5 over 10 for Cucurella. He's become Mr. Consistent, always consistently dropping, those top level performances. His base point performance now for me is 7.5. So Cucurella was in that regard. Tosin, he struggled again. Tosin Adarabayo struggled again. He struggled again today. And I'll say I'll give him a 6.5 maybe. He struggled today because there was a goal that Fulham could have scored, though the player was offside, but he was so slow going out to the man. And So for me, I give him a 6.5. Chaloba, he was okay. He wasn't super, super great. I give him a 6.5 as well. And then Gusto, I think Gusto played well today. He played well. I'll give Gusto a 7. Going to midfield, Caicedo really struggled today, at least in the early part of the game. He struggled. He came into it towards the end of the game, but I started the game. So overall, I'll give Caicedo a 6. But the good thing is, with rest, although they can this player really rest, you have an international break coming on very soon. So I think, in fact, this is the last game for the international break. So, but I think obviously he's top class. So you expect the next game is going to hit 7.5 base, and if not more. And then talk about Enzo Fernandez. Yeah, for me, he doesn't get out of jail. He doesn't get out of jail. I know he scored the penalty. I don't know why João Pedro didn't have his striker instinct on and take the penalty to score his second goal. But maybe Enzo Fernandez is the designated penalty taker when Palma is not available. Maybe that's what it is. But he scored that goal. Fair play to him. Top marks for converting that goal. I know it sort of helped ease the pressure of Chelsea, because when you're 2-0 up, you carry yourself differently to 1-0, and the pressure is different because you have a buffer, something to rest on, something to hold on to. But overall, I'll give him a 6 base points, because there are points when Chelsea had that break and was expecting him, someone of his quality, to be able to hit the passes, make the right decisions. There was a time Chelsea were on the break. You had Estevao William free wide on the right. You had what's his face as well, Pedro Neto free wide on the left, and then he just chose to play the ball straight to a Fulham player, and that happened a couple of more times during the game. So for me, I just feel like Enzo Fernandez today, he really struggled, and he really does need to rest, and that's what he really needs to rest, in my opinion. But international break comes really quickly, so who knows? They even have time to rest on that one. So for him, like I said, I'll give him a 6. And the only reason he's getting up to a 6 is because he scored that goal, because he scored the penalty. That's the only reason he comes up to a 6. Other than that, he remains in bad performance jail for me. And then going forward, Estevao William, I'll give him a 7. He was fairly decent as well today. So fair play on that regard. He got past his man time and time again. Each time he was 1v1, a fullback. He showed good strength against Sessegnon, which is nice to see. And that's why, for me, I keep saying this may be me sound like a broken record or sound like an ancient person, but you need fullbacks going on the outside of your wingers to create that 1v1 moments, for your wingers. And I think Enzo Maresca needs to come up with ways to create those 1v1 moments for the likes of Estevao William versus any fullback. I think I'll favor him versus any fullback. That's where I see it. So I'll give him 7 base points, because I think he was okay. It was good. And then João Pedro, can't stop talking about this guy. He's become Mr. Reliable right now. The go-to man for goals when Chelsea are looking for goals. And I just feel he should have been in that number. He should have been in that number 9 position, either at the start of the game or when Liam Delap unfortunately got taken off. So and then he took his goal very well. So for me, I'll give him an 8. I'll go full 8 max. And then for Liam Delap, unfortunately, I'll give him a 5. He didn't complete the game, obviously, but he was running the channels. He was he was becoming a handful for the Fulham defenders. And it looked like he was up for it today. It looked like he was going to get a goal today, but unfortunately, he picked up that hamstring injury. And then for Tyreek George, sadly, I'll give Tyreek George a 5.5 because he wasn't really in the game. But it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. I have to say this. I know you have fanboys and fangirls of Enzo Maresca, or people who just pick that niche of support the coach no matter what. No matter what he does, I'll always support the coach. Fair play if that's how you view fandom, if that the mindset you have, fair play. But playing a young kid out of position, in a position he doesn't have the physical attributes to play, then it's madness to me. Now, it's one thing when you play him in that odd position. But it's quite another thing when you don't realize your mistake, or rather when you think what you've done is right. You brought him on, you've played him as that 9, having to have his back to goal, having to have his back smushed against defenders every time in the game, having to be engaged in those physical contests with centre backs, with giant size centre backs, and you see it play after play, play after play, play after play, and you feel like, wow, that's right, I'm on the money right here. Then that's a problem for me. That is an issue for me, because you're not considering the player, you're not thinking of really winning, and you're just punishing the player, in my opinion. Because it's one thing, with all humans, we can make mistakes, tactical errors, and then you look at it, okay, let's change it. Especially when you had the tools. Estevao William was on the pitch. João Pedro was on the pitch. Pedro Neto was on the pitch. So they were all on the pitch. That you could have made the tactical switches. Estevao William, 10. Pedro Neto, 7. That's the right wing. Tariq George, 11. Left wing. Pedro Neto, João Pedro, number 9. You could have done that, but no. For me, I like to identify things even in wins, right? Even when you win, I think you have to do that, right? It's not just when you lose and no. Because I'm sure if Chelsea had lost this game or had dropped points against Fulham, a lot of people would have pointed to the fact that he played out of position, and then you had your fullbacks not overlapping. I pointed out because I saw Estevao William. The good thing about him was willing to go at his man, but he didn't have enough space, and fullbacks overlapping would have helped him, in my humble opinion. So for me, I'll give Tariq George a 5. Unfortunately, he just didn't offer that much because he was put out of position and kept out of position by his own manager. I used to say this about Pochettino, and I'll say it again, because for me, I don't have any favorites. I don't have any, I love this coach. No, I don't. So when you play players out of position, you nullify your own strength, you nullify your own attacks, you nullify what makes you good by yourself. That is meant to be the job of the opposition manager. That's meant to be the job of Marco Silva and the Fulham defense, not you as a coach nullifying your own team. I just don't get it. And then Gittins, for me, like I said, he hasn't inspired me in any way. He hasn't really performed in any way, in my opinion. He's really struggled. All the games he's played, the preseason game versus, was it Bayer Leverkusen, he struggled. AC Milan struggled. This game against, was the even play West Ham, struggled. The game at home to Crystal Palace, he struggled. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying he's struggling. And I think the way Enzo Maresca wants to force his wingers to always constantly go against 1v2, 1v3 challenges all the time, it's not going to help him either. It's not going to help Bino Gittins either. It's not. Having him having to go up against 2 defenders, 3 defenders, no help, play after play, it's not going to help him. It's not going to help him. This is not me criticizing Gittins to say, throw him away, lock him up, never play for Chelsea. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he is struggling. And as a manager, you should help your players out. You should help your players out. Sometimes you watch the game, read the room, read the pitch, read what's going on and say, no, I know I want my fullbacks to remain in midfield, to build a vacation spot in midfield. But this winger is struggling against a fullback and a defensive midfielder all game long, or a fullback and a winger all game long. Let me help him out. Okay, Cucurella, overlap. Give him some support. But if you don't, you let Gittins struggle, gaming play after play after play, and you keep knocking his confidence, I'm telling you, he's going to be sold next season. End of the season, he's going to be sold. Kenda is coming in. Next season. So I figure either Gittins would get sold or Garnacho would get sold. Because right now, Chelsea, the way Chelsea operates is the Chelsea Shipping and Trading Company 1905. That's how the club operates right now. Keep selling players, buying players for the sake of selling, and not really focusing on players that can come in right now and deliver. And players that are coming right now that are delivering, They're just doing it because law of averages. When you do that for say 10 players, at least 2 or 3 will come good. But is that a strategy for winning? But let's see. So overall, happy that got 3 points. Like I always say, I would take a rotten, bad, awful performance that leads to 3 points than a scintillating performance, dominate possession, shots on target, and you end up losing. That may seem obvious to say, but I'll take that anytime, any day. But we must point out this performance wasn't the greatest. Smash and grab, got the win, got the 2 goals. You know, João Pedro, that man again, with the goals, among the goals, you have to give him his props. He's coming, and he's just, you know, being integrated himself seamlessly into how Barca wants to play, and he's become an important part of the team. So top marks for him. How he sort of become one of Chelsea's key and most important players right now. So see early days, but he's really been good. So João Pedro has a solid 8. And then talk about Andre Santos. Andre Santos came on. I'll give him. It was okay. It was okay, but wasn't all that great. I would say 6.5 for João Pedro, for Andre Santos, 6.5. And so overall performance wasn't great, in my opinion, but always great to get a win. So let me know your opinions in the comment section. What are your thoughts about today's performance? Thoughts about the game? And I'll see you on yet another video. Stay well and stay blessed.